My mate, Bob Kernohan. Thanks for coming to Sydney, Bob.
Thanks for inviting me, Michael.
Tell us what your job was at the AWU about 1995.
1995, at that stage I was the joint branch president of the Victorian branch of the Australian Workers Union.
And your headquarters, where you work, was in Spencer Street, is that right?
It was.
And Wilson had his own place, but that was up in Carlton.
In Drummond Street, Carlton.
Now, Wilson gets the flick from the union in August of 1995. That would have been pretty big news at the time.
Indeed it was. Despite the efforts of senior officials in the union to keep it all quiet.
Who was that?
Bill Ludwig, particularly Bill Ludwig, and then it goes down the pecking order, right down to Bill Shorten, who was just a young recruiter at the time.
Now, Wilson gets the flick in August of 1995. His branch is closed, is that right?
That's
up in
correct.
Carlton. So the doors are shut, the doors are locked.
Correct.
You're at your branch in Spencer Street, and one morning, it's a noteworthy morning, right? The day the three blokes lobbed. Just tell us about that. What happened?
I was heading out to a meeting. I was heading to the ACTU for a meeting to do with the oil industry, and I was walking out through the reception area in Spencer Street. There's a reception area which consists of a window, a sliding window, where people would come with their inquiries either to renew membership or whatever else
Like
making some inquiries about.
Like at the teller at the bank.
That's
type of
correct,
thing.
yeah. And there were three people there remonstrating quite loudly and yelling out. They were not happy the fact that they performed work that was authorised by Bruce Wilson from the Australian Workers Union to renovate a particular property.
Well, do you know which property it was? Who are you talking about?
Well, I believe I didn't know at that particular stage, but since I believe that property was Julia Gillard's.
Why do you believe that?
I believe that because Bob Smith, the then Secretary of the Australian Workers Union, and more particularly Terry Muscat, who's now unfortunately deceased. Terry Muscat was the person that actually dealt with the three people that were remonstrating. They were three workers, bib and brace overalls. Obviously, they performed work that was authorised by the union. They hadn't been paid.
By the union. Now, so Wilson, you believe, Wilson had got these three people to do work on Gillard's property, her personal house.
Correct.
And they came to the union looking for payment.
They were looking for payment, and you can't blame the workers in this case. They weren't part of any cover-up. The fact is, the work was authorised by the then Secretary of the Australian Workers Union, Bruce Wilson, the boyfriend of Julia Gillard at the time. They performed the work, and in the interim period, Wilson had departed with his nice little payout, all hushed up, and of course he wasn't around to write any cheques for them, so they came to the next source, which was the Spencer Street AWU office.
Let's just confine ourselves to what you saw. You were present when the blokes turned up, the contractors looking for payment. You were there, you saw them.
I did, indeed.
You'd recognise the bloke?
Well, I was going back some time. The only sighting of them that I experienced was that day, just for less than a minute as I walked through the foyer. When I came back to the office, I did make some inquiries as to what the noise was all about. That's when I sat down with Terry Muscat and the then Secretary of the AWU, Bob Smith, and Bill Shorten was also part of the discussion, and they informed me that Wilson was up to a lot more than just opening up dodgy bank accounts.
He was paying for Gillard's renovations.
Correct.
His girlfriend,
Correct.
Julia Gillard.
Correct.
And that money came from, do you know?
Well, I don't know where it came from, which account it came from, but I do know that it was money that was legitimately sought from employers in respect of members' union dues or health and safety grants that might come from government departments and various other sources of revenue, all generated in the name of the Australian Workers Union for the benefit of the members of the union who own the union, not people like Bruce Wilson and Bill Ludwig and others who over the years, quite disgustingly, took possession and ownership as if it was their money. They lost sight of the very first principle you learn, and I was taught very young, that when you are in charge of other people's interests, particularly when it comes to large sums of money, millions of dollars we're talking about here, in terms of the Australian Workers Union, you are custodians, first and foremost, of the members' money. It is not your money. Wilson conducted himself with utter contempt. He had no regard or respect for the membership.
Mate, it's hot where we are at the moment. We'll get a drink and get into the shade, and we're going to have more to say about whose dough it was and where it went.
Indeed we will. Thanks, Michael.